Memphis. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
As I was walking down the street one day, a man came up to me and asked me what the time was that was on my watch. Yeah, and I said, does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? If so, I can't imagine why. We've all got time enough to cry. I was walking down the street one day.
Welcome in on a fabulous Friday. Oh, yeah. Jamal Murray to the rescue last night for the Denver Nuggets. They're up 2-0. I stayed up very, very late last night. I will confess. Middle of the third overtime period, I gave up. They went to a fourth overtime period with 12.7 seconds left in the fourth overtime. Basically another game and a third. And it was Florida that should have probably won it in the very first overtime, but there was a interference with the goalie call. Then really in that same period, the Carolina Hurricanes should have won it on a power play. A guy had an open shot, and he went too high, hit the crossbar, and came out. And so they went to the end of the fourth overtime period, and the Panthers were the winners. It was an interesting game. Jamer, did you watch any of that? Because you're a hockey guy.
I did in the I'm sorry, I hit the microphone and made a terrible noise. I love the Panthers too, man. My second favorite hockey team.
Well,
I was really excited by it.
Florida. What do you expect?
South Beach.
What I thought was interesting about that game was there were times, this is how even they are, and this series is going to be great, but both teams would dominate during stretches of the game where you go, wait, this is the better team. No, wait, no, this is the better team. And it was really cool how it fluctuated. So I think this series is going to go 7. They're going to win road games. It's going to be terrific. What was really cool, though, was on the interference goal. All those people in Raleigh, they started to leave the stadium. Half of them probably got to the parking lot and went, uh-oh, hope we can get back in. I think they let him back in because the crowd was full.
I took a page out of the Miami playbook where you leave early and then Ray Allen hits a shot and everyone tries to flood back into the arena. Exactly. It's the same thing in Carolina last night.
It was really, really cool. The Preakness is tomorrow, and we've got Paul Rogers at the end of the show to break that down. Do you know how many horses from the Kentucky Derby are in the Preakness?
I'm going to say 6.
You are absolutely, totally wrong.
Is that too many or too few?
Way too many. There's only 8 horses in the field, and the only one from the Derby, and we got to find out why. The only one from the Derby is the winner, Mays. Every other horse is new. One of the horses, which is actually the second favorite, First Mission, that horse wasn't qualified to make the Derby. So I don't understand it got enough points to qualify for this, but that horse is the second favorite. We'll talk with Paul Rogers about all of that. And the Showboats, by the way, play early tomorrow at 11:30, and in just a few minutes, we will talk with Steve Macy, their marketing director, about that game, what to expect. Hey, when you look at it, both these teams are really good defensively. Both have started new quarterbacks. Both are now 2-3. So, and by the way, the Boats are in a position to make the playoffs now. So, and they have 4 of their last 5 games are at home. This is cool. So, hopefully there will be a bunch of people. Look, they had 15,000 for the first game. I think they really had about 5 for the second. So
they had me for the second game, which I don't know if that's as good as however many thousand you just said, but I would say game 2.
Well, They lost that game, didn't they?
But that's when they made the quarterback change,
Right.
and that might have jump-started.
Be honest, how many you think were there? Because I think they announced 10 or 11, but everybody that I know was there said it's really about 5.
It might have been less than that, truly, but I got to be honest, too. It's also very hard to gauge because everybody's right next to you, like on the same side. I will say, though, I enjoyed the concourse area, having gone to mostly just AutoZone Liberty Bowls. It's always so crowded in the concourse. With it just being the one side open, it was very nice, leisurely to get into the stadium, leisurely around the concourse. It was a great football watching experience. I have to recommend it to anybody that would be interested in going to the Showboat Saturday.
Well, we're going to talk to Steve Macy about all of that coming up here in just a little bit. By the way, the PGA going on as we speak. Justin Rose, the old timer. Justin Rose is really playing well today, and he has just tied Bryson DeChambeau, who doesn't tee off till 1:30. Rose is 3 under today, now tied with DeChambeau at 4 under. Scotty Scheffler, who hasn't teed off yet, is 3 under. So is Corey Connors, the Canadian. He's at 3 under. Cam Davis, 3 under today, so he is 2 under for the tournament. Adam Scott is even through 9 today. He is 2 under for the tournament. I noticed Patrick Cantlay, because I had him, was playing pretty well for a little bit there.
And the golf pro Michael Block coming out of nowhere. He's been playing well as well. Also,
Cantlay 2 under today, so he's 2 over. But Michael Block, now that's a great story.
It really is.
He's a club pro. He's even today, even for the tournament. Was he not 2 under for a little bit there?
I think he's 2 under today, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, they got him in these. He must have double bogey. Yeah, he double bogeyed the 5th hole.
Oh, what a shame. Poor guy.
Wow, he went bogey, double bogey. Wow.
He's given all the strokes back. Dustin Johnson, I also saw started well.
He actually had gotten to 3 under. That's a shame.
Tied for the lead. And Dustin Johnson also was 3 under start today. I think he has a couple bogeys in there, so he's dropped back a little bit now. But
he's even for today, 1 under. Oh, I take it back. He's 2 over today.
Yeah.
And 1 under.
Tough.
For the tournament.
Hate to see that for those live guys.
How about Bryson DeChambeau?
I mean, who would have thought, Dave, that putting on all that weight like your Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime wasn't great for a golf swing? And he had to drop all the weight back off again.
You know what? And I don't like Bryson DeChambeau. And I pull, as you know, against any live guy. My only live guy that I really kind of like is Brooks.
And every club's an 8-iron, although I kind of like that idea, to be honest.
6-iron.
6-iron, excuse me.
So that's the interesting thing. If anybody was going to tinker with that and try to figure it out, it would be DeChambeau, right? Because Bryson DeChambeau, in all honesty, he has every club's a 6-iron length. He understands better than anybody the physics of his own team. So, if there was anybody that would have made that work, it would have been him. But honestly, it didn't work. And that's why, he went from 5,000 calories a day. I think it's 2,900. Like, he's that exacting. But
it's a weird brain he's got.
I still think there's something's going to screw up here. He did win a major.
When you're hitting a 6-iron, though, like if you have a 9-iron, let's say you hit your 9-iron at pro, 150 yards, something like that. You're hitting a 9-iron that's a 6-iron length.
He hit 190. I think he hits like. Does he hit a 9-iron for that?
He probably hits it further than that. I mean, he's such a big hitter.
Yeah.
It's hard to gauge. He's gone up and down so much. But still, the point remains, though, you're in a 6-iron, the 6-iron length, what you would hit a 9-iron, you can't be as exact that way, right? Part of the thing that at least makes it, I'm not a pro golfer, but my short game, it helps to have the shorter length club. I have to think that affects it.
I would agree with that for sure. That's why a pitching wedge is shorter than a driver. But this guy... he doesn't do that with his drivers, by the way, with his woods.
Correct.
Those are regular length, but all the irons are that of his 6-iron. And the way he swings, he's figured out with physics. They call him the mad scientist, Something, though, there's a disconnect in there. I don't think he's going to hold on to this, but who knows? And I am absolutely positively biased against any live guy.
I like Dustin Johnson, but I'll fade the rest of them.
How about Phil? I think Phil's struggling a little bit today. For sure. All right, real quick, Steve Macy's going to join us. We're going to talk boats and boats and boats. But, Murray, last night saving Denver. and getting to 2-0. And that's what you had to. I thought if there was a must-win last night, it was for Denver. They have to hold serve because LA is going to be really good at home. Murray could not hit at all early in the game. I mean, he was awful in the first half. He plays that way in the second half. LA ties the series up at 1-1. 23 of his 37 in the fourth quarter. So Denver is up after the 108-103 win. You know how many threes they hit in the fourth quarter?
How many?
7. That's the difference in the game. They hit threes. LeBron's taken threes when they couldn't stop him driving. And some of his decision-making at the end was a little shaky for sure. And he twisted his ankle. 38, twisting your ankle, not a good thing.
But the reports are unequivocally, absolutely, LeBron James will play in Game 3.
Jokic, another triple-double, 23, 17, 12 assists. But here's something I've noticed. We did a little research, or I had J-Mo do the research.
I'm no Bryson DeChambeau, though.
No, but you're as good at finding stuff as he is at tinkering. How about that? His production in the fourth quarter in this series, you know what he shot against LA in the fourth quarter?
It wasn't good when we looked it up.
0 for 6.
Yeah, not
He's
ideal.
only taken 6 shots. In the whole series with Phoenix, he was 12 of 24. Now, that's not bad percentage, but only 24 shots in all those games?
It's not ideal. I mean, like last night you had the excuse.
I have a theory. My theory is he's not in the greatest shape. Now, he's in better shape than he used to be. He's lost some weight. But I think he gets tired in the fourth quarter. He certainly looked that way yesterday and the game before that. But this thing's moving to L.A. Oh, and Mark Jackson. He said something prophetic, I think, last night and repeated it a couple of times. Austin Reeves, the kid from 50 miles away from here. I love this guy. Austin Reeves is going to make a lot of money when this is over. So Austin Reeves had 22 last night, but if you look at the Lakers and the plus-minus, he was the highest plus-minus on the team, plus 13. And what did you say there? He is in line to make so much money that would be a cap issue for the Lakers?
The Lakers, is being reported from Los Angeles that they're worried that they don't have the money to re-sign him and other teams are going to offer him way more than they're able to, which is a very real thing. That two-guard position is very valuable in today's NBA.
We're going to talk some boats here. I may have to ask a little golf of Kyle Macy, of Steve Macy. Steve Macy. I don't know if he tinkers, if he only uses a 6-iron, but he's really a very good player. He probably stinks right now because he's so busy with the showboats. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studio. A reminder to you probably only got a couple more weeks of this, the Vacation at Home sale, with pools and spas, even the play gyms, priced extremely low for this Vacation at Home sale. There's special financing available, and if you mention this ad, and this is important, especially if you're getting a play gym for the kids, half off on installation. And I'm telling you, you should all use the pros to install those play gyms. Our title sponsor is Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch. If you would like that little rocket ship of a G70, the smaller Genesis sedan, they got a deal right now. Go see Vinny Gerard. He's over the Genesis cars at Homer Skelton Hyundai, right at the corner of Highway 78, Lamar, and the first exit in Mississippi Craft Road. Turn left. Go see Vinny. Tell him you want the Genesis deal. If you finance with Genesis and you want the G70, and by the way, it's a really good rate, why wouldn't you do this? You'll get $1,000. They're paying you to do business with them at Homer Skelton Hyundai. Steve Macy, marketing director of the Showboats, formerly with the U of M for several years. Good morning to you. Your golf game must be lousy this spring because you're so busy.
I'm not sure it's because I'm still busy. I just think I am lousy. But how are you, Wolo?
I'm doing well. I really am. So you got a big game tomorrow. All of a sudden, both these teams are relevant, and the Maulers are literally tied for first because everybody in the North Division is 2-3. Talk about parity in the USFL. And now the Boats are only one game out of the playoffs. They are 2-3. You got an 11:30 game. I'm imagining that was not your choice of time.
No. That's not. Obviously, we're kind of a TV league in a lot of ways. That TV runs a lot of that, and it's awesome because every game's on national TV. So this game's on USA Network, and we've got the 11:30 slot. And I know you've been talking about golf, so we'll call it the tee time is 11:30, and it's fine. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It gives people a chance, really, to whether they want to come out to the Bluff City Fair right afterwards, that's here on the grounds, or go down and partake in some of the fun at Barbecue Fest. There's some options that make the 11:30 kickoff kind of attractive for someone that wants to make it a parlay in the same day.
Oh, you know what? I mean, there's a lot of you're home in time to watch the Preakness if that's your deal. You're able, if you do it after 3:30, you can get a tee time somewhere. I think it's terrific. I'm really looking forward to it. Tell me about the difference between your team that was 0-3 and the one that is now 2-3.
All along, they really felt, the coaching staff and the general manager, Dave Rosano, felt like the defense was going to be a really big part of this team. And they were really struggling getting turnovers. Then all of a sudden, they got that first one, and it really changed a whole lot of things. One, they've now got 6 in 2 games, and it gave the offense the ball back. That changed a lot of attitudes of the players. They started to believe in it. That kind of broke that sequence where they just couldn't seem to get a fumble recovery, or they were dropping interceptions. And once they kind of got their swagger back on the defensive side, it snowballed for the entire team. The offense started playing better. Special teams was lights out the last 2 weeks. And I think just getting that first little turnover allowed them to relax and get into what they were and what they are, which is a hard-hitting defense that plays fast and allows the rest of the team to do their jobs and know that the defense has their back.
I was listening to your general manager at the Rotary Lunch this past week, on Tuesday, and he was talking about trying to get some new acquisitions, in particular offensive linemen. Do you think he was successful, and is that really part of the key for this season, is to keep your new quarterback, Kelly Cole, who has been outstanding as a starter, keep him protected?
Well, I think that's been probably Dave's toughest job, has been replacing guys that have gotten hurt. And, yes, he's been successful in a lot of instances so far. The injury bug really hit the showboats hard, and especially on the defensive side and the offensive line. And so, yeah, he's been super busy trying to replace guys. And I think as the USFL seasons progress, there's been a lot more interest from potential players about being involved. As they've seen the quality level of play, as they've seen the quality of the television broadcast, his phone has been ringing a lot more here the last 3 weeks than it was before the season in the first couple of weeks, just because people are seeing it and they realize how good this actually is. So yeah, Dave's been working hard, and it's a tough job because it's not like the NFL where everybody's clamoring to get in. You've got to find the right guys that can help you. You're not looking for backups. You're looking for starters all the time. That's the type of guys you're trying to bring in. So it is a balancing act that he's done extraordinarily well.
What kind of crowd are you expecting? You had a great crowd first game. You had a fair crowd, I'll say, second game. You got 4 of your next 5, right? We're home an awful lot, and I'm expecting a pretty good crowd this Saturday. We've really promoted this game as Family Day. We have area mascots, including Pouncer from the Memphis Tigers, Grizz from the Memphis Grizzlies, both the local mascots. Plus, we've got Buck from CBU, and we have our good friend from the Redbirds. All will be here in the concourse, signing autographs, taking pictures, and then we are going to have the Skipper's Great Mascot Race right before the game starts. And we're trying to make it as much fun for kids as humanly possible. Then after the game, kids are invited down on the field to come run a 40-yard dash of their own. Cool.
And we always have – those are special things for this game. And then post-game, we will have foam footballs we'll give away. Plus, we always have the fun zone, which is some inflatables where kids can do practice kicking, throwing, face painting, temporary tattoos. We have this really neat photo booth where a kid can go in the photo booth, get their picture taken, and then it prints out a football card with their face on it, and all of this stuff is free. We really have emphasized we want this to be a family entertainment venue, and there's so many people that I've heard from, including yourself, Dave, who look fondly on the 1980s version of the Showboats, and they're trying to pass it on to that next generation, and we're trying to help them make that a little bit easier.
Well, I love you doing it, family, and let's face it, you can get a ticket for $10, so you can afford to bring the whole family. It is a really cool deal. And you mentioned this is a TV league. Come on, and that's a good thing, because crowds are not essential to the success of the league. If we're being totally honest, what is successful is if you, like you did in that game that followed the Kentucky Derby, draw 2 million people to the TV sets. That's really what Fox is concerned about. So that's a good thing. But I am curious, of the other three hubs, how is Memphis doing with crowds compared to the others?
We're doing really well, and I would say yes, it's a TV product first, but also, you know, they're pretty astute, and they know that a good crowd plays out really well on television, and that matters. That if someone sees a game and sees a good crowd, that they go, okay, this must be an important event. And I think that's, you know, from my time with the Tigers, that was always important, and clearly it's important here, and will continue to gain in importance as the years go on. But yeah, we're doing really well here comparatively. Detroit's been having really good crowds. Birmingham had a rough weekend last weekend, just from they had some tough weather to deal with, which we did in our second home game. And look, overall, it's a product we're building, and we're making sure that the Showboats and the Gamblers players and coaches are contributing to this community. And as I've told them, and they've really adopted, is that if you love Memphis, it'll love you right back. And there's never been something more evident than, you know, any of these teams that have come into Memphis, and the players and coaches get involved with the community, whether it's, you know, here for the Showboats, it's reading to kids, being part of field days, being part of the detention center efforts that are going on here. Our players have such a great ability to show their appreciation for what they have. And, you know, a lot of them are either up-and-coming players with aspirations for the NFL, or they're trying to get themselves back there. And they're so appreciative of this opportunity, and it shows in the way they interact with fans, how they interact in the community, and I'm proud to be part of it. It's really neat the way they've adopted Memphis as their own.
Should be fun tomorrow. We'll see you at the Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium early at 11:30. Thank you, Steve. We appreciate it. Good luck. Hopefully there'll be more games than just a regular season there, because you could make the playoffs and host.
Yep, absolutely. You know, we're looking forward to that opportunity to have one more home game at the end of the season, and you know, we encourage Memphis to embrace the team as much as the players have adopted Memphis as their own. And tickets are available now at DUSFL.com. And as you mentioned earlier, they're only $10.
He is Steve Macy, and of course, he is the marketing director for the Boats. Thank you, my man.
Thanks, Wolo. See you tomorrow.
Steve Macy, brought to you in part by Miramichi. Oh, yeah, what a good day. What a good weekend to go out and play golf. Weather's supposed to be really good, especially after mid-morning tomorrow. I think today's going to be good till late at night. Go out, see my friends, play a championship golf course. You got 5 different tee boxes, over 7,000 yards, down to 5,000 yards. Beautiful, both sides, but the back 9, you got this meandering stream and a waterfall. It is fantastic, and there are memberships. You can get all the golf, all the practice, all the range balls, free carts, all for $300 a month. There are still some limited membership availabilities for you if you go see Cheryl Pardue at Miramichi. And this portion of the show brought to you by the good folks at Grind City Beer with their brand new logo. Very clean, very distinctive, and a lot of new products that you are going to love. In fact, I was talking to one of the brewmasters, and he was telling me they're actually toying with an idea of a Pilsner with a jalapeno pepper added to it. How about that? That would be absolutely crazy. I love that Pilsner. Poppy's Pills. There's the God Hopper that everybody knows, the pale ale. Now they got a new amber lager called Thaddeus. I think you will like that. And there's the wheat ale, like the Blue Moon, the Belgian-style wheat ale. You will love that. You can get it all over town or go to the brewery. Fantastic place. Just north of downtown, right on the river. That is Grind City Brewing. We come back to Chicago. We go. Our agent, that would be Andy Schiffman from Priority Sports. He comes your way in just a minute.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
There are so many ways to buy and sell houses these days. How do you choose? Well, of course, choose the right way with Chet Whitsitt. Chet has over 37 years of experience as both a broker and a sales agent. He's helped lots of people buy and sell homes, and he will help you. It's the right way, and it's that easy. Buying, selling, or referrals, check with Chet at 901-484-5689 and Cry Like Realtors at 901-756-8900. Buying or selling? Check with Chet Whitsitt.
Do you want to know what's trending now? You can defer payments of a full NetSuite implementation for 6 months. No payments and no interest for 6 months. This is a big deal. NetSuite by Oracle has never made an offer like this in its 22 years as the leading cloud financial system. 33,000 companies have already upgraded to NetSuite, gaining visibility and control over their financials, inventory, HR, e-commerce, and more. Everything they need to reduce manual processes, boost efficiency, build forecasts, and increase productivity across every department. In fact, almost 90% of finance leaders agree that NetSuite helps them reduce manual data entry time. Whether your business generates millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, take advantage of this special financing offer of no payments or interest for 6 months at netsuite.com/play. That's netsuite.com/play. netsuite.com/play.
'Tis the season to get in a new ride from Gossett Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram Fiat on the Pike. Get unparalleled power in 2023 Dodge Charger SXT, $30,535 or $419 a month. That's $5,000 off MSRP. Let freedom roam in 2023 Jeep Wrangler Sport 4x4 two-door. We Gossett at $35,545 or $498 a month. It's a game changer in 2023 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab 4x4, $12,000 off MSRP. You won't find a better deal anywhere else, and if we don't have it, Gossett will order it today. So drive past the rest and come to the best at Gossett on the Pike or shop online at GossettMotorCars.net.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
Charger Wrangler 3500 down, 5.19 for 75 months. Charger PH 504816, MSRP 35535. Wrangler PW 671,899, MSRP 38045. 1500 PN 619,119, MSRP 67,250. Includes all rebates and incentives. PF 695 excludes tax, title, and license. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 5/31/2023 with approved credit dealer stock only.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
I mentioned Miramichi just a little bit ago. You know who you won't see out there? You won't see Sheldon. Sheldon Rosengarten, he doesn't have time. He's working too hard for you. He loves golf, but he's terrible because he can never practice because he's always implementing that highly successful strategic marketing program that goes above and beyond to make the most money for his clients, gets them to the closing table faster than anybody. This product, this strategy, it really involves what he calls the 2 Ps, and that includes preparation and a lot of research that goes into all of it, and he will sell your house for more money quicker than anybody else. That's why they call him Sheldon. You can reach him at memphisrelocate.com. It's a big part of the business is relocation. That's why he's got it. And you can call 483-0546, 483-0546. That's the number for Sheldon. Sheldon Rosengarten, Marks Bensdorf. We reach out to Chicago. Our friend Andy Schiffman, the wonderful agent from Priority Sports, who joins us every Friday in this slot. All right, I got to start with this because we haven't had your take, but here is John Morant. By the way, they just apparently, Nike took the Hunger Jaw 1 sneakers off their app and the Finish Line app. The Ja ones are still on there. I guess those have already been released, but the May 25th release date for the other shoes may be going away. What's your take on what's going on with Ja Morant? Thank you for joining us this morning, Andy.
Of course, Dave. Good to talk with you as always. Well, it's disappointing just as a basketball fan to see what's happened with Ja in such close proximity from the first incident a couple of months ago, obviously. And if I'm a Grizzlies fan, if I'm Taylor Jenkins, if I'm Zach Kleiman, I'm definitely worried. You're going to do everything you can internally to get out in front of this thing and penalize Ja from a team standpoint. But the league is very, very strict on things that on any sort of incident that affects their perception or affects their image. And obviously something like this and something like holding up a gun now twice in a matter of months is really, really detrimental to the NBA brand. And so I would not be surprised to see Ja suspended for at least half the season. And I'm here in Chicago. We got the combine going on this week. I've been talking to tons of teams all week, and there are a number of people that think it could be closer to the full season. Now, that's extreme, but I will not be surprised. It's not going to be a slap on the wrist. It's not going to be a small penalty this time. So I think you need to brace yourself.
Wow. I was thinking somewhere in the 20 to 25 game range, quarter of the season, maybe triple the first 8 games that he got last year from the commissioner, who really did seem distressed when he, after the lottery, when he spoke with ESPN. It was more distressed and baffled and hurt than it was angry. But man, so you're getting the sense it could be a half a year or more.
It could be. I'm not saying it will, but I would not be surprised. If you remember, I think the last incident like this, Gilbert Arenas, I think he was suspended indefinitely. I mean, that may have been.
Well, he got 50 games,
and obviously that was in a locker room. That's
right.
the other thing. So
that's right. And
but
no,
I think the
law
landscape
broken here. No law broken.
Exactly. But I just think the landscape in today's world is different. Obviously, if that happened, what Gilbert Arenas did, bringing a gun into a locker room, I think for sure you're looking at least one season, potentially multiple season ban from the NBA, similar to testing positive for PEDs, things along those lines, just as serious. So, yeah, I'm not proclaiming that, hey, he will be suspended for at least half a year, but from my conversations, I think that is a realistic scenario.
Wow. What do you sense with Nike? What are they going to do?
I don't have any feel for that. I haven't really talked to people at Nike about that, obviously, nor would I, as I don't represent Ja or deal in that world necessarily. But I think you've seen it before, right? You just have to look at precedent where shoe companies disassociate themselves from, I don't want to use the word like problem players. I don't think Ja Morant's a problem player, but again, it's all about image. So you have to think long term. If you're a company, do you want to be associated with someone that has this negative aura around them right now? And I think long term, you're going to still be a partner with Ja Morant, but for sure I wouldn't be pumping out a shoe right now off the heels of this incident. So, I mean, I'm in agreement with that being the right move and halting the release of this new shoe coming out. It's supposed to come out this month. I don't know what will happen long term. I don't know in his contract if he have, I'm sure there are penalties if he's suspended from the league, then maybe his compensation from Nike is decreased accordingly. I'm just not sure.
And if you get suspended, like those 8 games, he didn't get paid for those 8 games, right? That's suspension without pay. So he's already lost the Supermax deal, and I don't know if that was on the court, off the court, a combination of the two. But, if he loses that in a half a year, that is quite a financial penalty, even though he would still have a lot more money coming if he, apparently changes his ways. What do you think?
The biggest thing is, like, what do you not learn from the first time? That's my whole thing. Like, you're doing this literally within the 2 to 3 months, and you seem like a good guy. You got a good head on your shoulders. You're supposed to have these people around you that look out for these situations. I mean, you are you're an international brand. You're not a fringe NBA player. You're not a two-way guy. You're the face of the Grizzlies, by far and away the best player the Grizzlies have ever had in a uniform there. You're one of the top players in the NBA, and you got to know better.
Especially after you talked to the commissioner once.
Yep.
My take on it is we're not doing enough of the why. Why did he do this?
Mm-hmm.
And it comes down, in my mind, and I don't really know Ja. I'm not a psychiatrist, but I've said this before. There is, for some reason in his mind, there is an allure to this culture that glorifies guns and lawlessness. That could be speeding on the highways. It could be breaking into cars, whatever that culture might be. And I don't want to define it. I don't know that he's into all of the facets of that culture of lawlessness, but clearly the power of the gun thing, that is something he's attracted to, so much so that he's not disciplined enough to stay off of Insta. That might have been a mistake. He might have been inebriated. Maybe that's an issue. I don't know. But somebody's got to figure out the why. Why would he do this after he'd already had that discussion with the commissioner, who talked about the seriousness and gave him an 8-game suspension?
Well, look, I'm no psychologist, Dave, but I just think in today's world, dealing with players all the time, there are certain players that just cannot stay off social media, and there's an allure and attraction, and you get the nail on the head of, look, your judgment is clouded when you're around certain people in your life who have nothing to lose. They want to show themselves on social media with an NBA superstar that, hey, I'm hanging out with him, and look, I'm getting to do this, or he's with me, and we're glorifying X, Y, or Z that is talked about in songs or other social media clips, things like that. And the friends have nothing to lose. That's what these players don't understand. And a lot of these friends are people that the players knew growing up. So as much as we critics and pundits like to sit there and say, how can you be hanging out with this person or that person? They don't look at it that way. These are people that were with them from day one, that they're not just going to disassociate from their lives. And all of a sudden, like I said, all these little factors I'm talking about, they cloud a player's judgment to where they're not going into a situation thinking, okay, before I step into this car, let me have this conversation. Don't do anything on Instagram Live. Are there any weapons here? Make sure they're out of the car before I get in. They're not thinking that way. And next thing you know, look where we are.
Yeah. You have a couple of Grizzlies that you represent. Brandon Clark, Santi Aldama. I may be missing one here.
David Chillman.
And so you work with Zach Kleiman, and if indeed he's looking at a half a year suspension. Now his flexibility to replace Dylan Brooks, he's already said we're not bringing Dylan Brooks back. Do you keep Tyus Jones, who is going to be a piece in that, to have a point guard that you can rely on, because you may not have anywhere from a quarter of a season to a half a season?
Yeah.
No John Morant.
Well, for sure. I absolutely think you do. I think, look, if you're a Grizzlies fan, you saw enough times, right, enough games and moments where the team was functioning better with Tyus as the starting point guard as opposed to Ja. For whatever reason that may be, I don't know. But that's just the fact if you go back and look at the win-loss outcome. And
yeah,
so,
I think 20-5 is
that's remarkable. And so, look, Tyus I wouldn't go out there and shop for a brand new point guard. For one, they're not going to have tons of money to spend. They're probably going to be what's referred to as a mid-level team, where they're going to be able to have up to around $12 million in 1 year to spend, and you could sign a player up to 4 years on that sort of contract. So call it up to about $12 million with some other exceptions, smaller exceptions here and there that will allow them to go out and sign their draft picks or maybe sign a minimum player. They're not going to have many roster spots. To go out there and find a high-level, serviceable, starting-level point guard for that amount of money in this market is going to be difficult. There's going to be about 7 teams with lots of salary cap room that'll be at the forefront of those spending teams. And then if you're a high-level, starting-level point guard, you insert yourself in the Grizzlies lineup. What happens when Ja comes back? If you're Tyus Jones, what happens when all of a sudden you're one of 3 guards? I wouldn't even mess with that. I think you're right. Go ahead and put Tyus out there and maybe look at drafting someone that can kind of fill the gap as another point guard or a combo guard. I think there's enough versatile pieces on the Grizzlies roster that you can maybe kind of have a backup point guard by committee at times. And I think for sure, look, their biggest target is going to be someone to come in and replace Dylan. And I think they're going to try and go after a high-level wing, a high-level 2-3 to provide shooting, defense, etc. And I think that's going to be their number one priority this offseason.
All right, before I run out of time, the San Antonio Spurs win the lottery. They get Wembanyama, who's supposed to be the best prospect probably since LeBron, although if you're looking at foreign guys, Luke is not a bad player.
Yeah.
But this guy's supposed to be the real deal. I've heard some people say, because, his favorite player growing up was Tony Parker, that the Spurs have a coach that is from France that may have been with Wembanyama when he was younger or was Parker's coach. Anyway, there's a connection that this is, it's a conspiracy theory that they gave it to, by the way, Pops, who's one of the great developers of foreign players. Let's be honest, he is. But is this guy that good, and what will that do to San Antonio right off the bat?
Well, for sure he's that good. I've watched him a lot. I have a lot of players playing in that French league, and he definitely is that good. I've been asked that question a lot lately. And all of a sudden, look, obviously we don't know what he will be in the NBA, but in terms of being worthy of a number one draft pick, 100% he is, in my opinion. And I think this really, really catapults the Spurs. And, they've already got a very nice young core to work with. They got Keldon Johnson. Obviously, we have a couple guys on the team, Doug McDermott, Zach Collins. They drafted Malachi Branham last year. They've got some really nice young pieces. And I think now adding Victor kind of as the centerpiece with a lot of those good, athletic, long, young wings to project out where they could be in the next 2 to 3 years. I mean, they could be really, really good, Dave. And you talk about some of these teams in the West, whether it's the Lakers whenever LeBron decides to retire, Minnesota up and down, obviously New Orleans, it's like they live and die by Zion, and it remains to be seen what happens with the Clippers and the Warriors, and even Dallas. Like San Antonio, in a couple of years, there's no reason they can't do what OKC's been doing, what Sacramento's been doing, and all of a sudden they're a top 5, top 6 team in the West. But I think it absolutely helps them right off the bat, and obviously the market there. I mean, I don't know the French population and how many people from France have moved to San Antonio or Texas in general, but I think it's going to put San Antonio back on the international map, just like when Tony Parker was there playing alongside Tim Duncan. So I think it's exciting. I think you now have, in a couple of years, another contending team, and I think for the league, it's good to see San Antonio in that conversation because it was so positive, obviously, with Pop as the coach, coaching Tony Parker, David Robinson, Tim Duncan, which seems just like yesterday. And with all these, the way the NBA is today, with the pieces they have, I think they could be really good in a couple of years from now.
I think it keeps Pop around, too, for a little bit longer. Andy, as always, we appreciate it so much. We'll talk playoffs next Friday.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. That's Andy Schiffman, our agent in Chicago, brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and, of course, that super tune-up where they do 16 points of really getting your system in total tune. It makes it efficient. It keeps it lasting longer. And it saves you money on your MLGW bill. On top of that, you don't have any costly breakdowns, and you don't swelter in this summer heat because your system won't work. 384-3511, that's the number for Conway. Back in just a minute, we will talk racing with our analyst, the voice of Louisville. That's Paul Rogers. He comes your way in a minute.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
There are a lot of people that love the weather this time of year. The abundant sunshine, the blooming flowers. It's all really, really nice for some people. And then there's those of us that think this time of year is the perfect time to be inside a nice, cool bar like Bell Tavern. Well, not like Bell Tavern, actually Bell Tavern. This downtown staple is the place to be to catch a game, have a signature cocktail, and some of the best bar food anywhere. Let those shiny, happy people get out there and bite the green line. You come join us in the comfortable confines of Memphis's best bar, Bell Tavern.
Hey everybody, you have got to drive these all-new Silverados out here in Olive Branch at All-Star Chevrolet. Heck, if not that, come drive an Equinox or place a custom order for any new Chevy you want. Just ask for Kevin or Jeff. Finance rates as low as 1.9. And they have a ton of customer cash offers for May. If you're military or in education or healthcare, any position at all, May is appreciation month and you can get an extra $500 bonus. And Kevin and Jeff asked me to thank all of you who are bringing your cars and trucks here to sell, even if you still owe money on it. All-Star is paying crazy good money, and you can get a check today. Not just that, All-Star certified and pre-owned selection is loaded. Certified Silverados, Ram trucks, Jeeps, Corvette Stingrays, they got it all. And if you need service or maintenance, call Sean or Jeff in the All-Star Chevy Service Department. Remember, it's not the Pike, not South Haven, not Bartlett, Mount Moriah, or Collierville. It's got to be Olive Branch, people. So find new roads to All-Star Chevrolet today or go to allstarautogroup.com.
Hey Memphis football fans, it's head coach Ryan Silverfield. We need you to commit to Memphis football today by purchasing season tickets. They start at just $99. Bring the entire family and come watch the 901's football team in action. Our players always talk about the support of Tiger Nation, and you truly make a difference each and every game when we run out of that tunnel. We want to see you at Memphis football game this year. Go Tigers, go.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Tigers got a kicker today. Remember, they lost one to Kentucky earlier in the week. That was Alex Rayner, who had been at Georgia Southern, flipped to Kentucky. Got a feeling there was some NIL money involved in that one, but they get today Seth Morgan, who was at Sam Houston State, 15 of 21, range of 52 yards, perfect on all his extra point attempts, so good for Ryan Silverfield. I knew he was meeting with him yesterday, and today he got that commitment. That'll make Matt Eflin happy. He's a big Tiger fan. That's your insurance agent who loves the Tigers so much. 901-386-GUR. That's his phone number, 4777. And you know all about Matt now. It's about collaboration. He gets to know you and your family. When he protects you with life insurance, a home program, an auto program, he gets to know your family, what your budget is, and protects you. And if you're a small to mid-sized business, same thing with commercial insurance. He'll get to know your product, your personnel, what your employees expect, how much money you got, and he'll protect you. Again, 386-4777. That's the number to call to be protected the right way with the Eflin Insurance Team. We go and head to talk with our voice of the Triple Crown. That would be Paul Rogers, the voice of Louisville. And I don't know what's happened here. What's happened to horse racing? There's only one horse from the Derby, that's the winner, Mays, that is now going to be in Baltimore. Is this troubling? What's going on, Paul Rogers? Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, it's unusual. This is the first time, I can't remember the exact year, but it's been like 80 years ago or something like that, that only one horse from the Derby came back, and that, of course, is the winner. I don't know. You know, we've been on this topic every year, it seems like, about does the Triple Crown need modifying? And I was a holdout for a long time saying, no, it's not easy to win because it's not supposed to be easy to win. And it's grueling. It's kind of erratic the way it goes from the 1.25 miles to 1 3/16 to 1.5 miles, 2 weeks between the first two, 3 weeks between the second, and all that business. But I tell you, Dave, I've come around. I really think they're going to have to change it. It just does not fit the way horses train and race these days. And you could make the argument, in fact, I think I made this very argument with you last year at this time when I was kind of leaning this way, and now I'm kind of convinced, that run them a month apart. And yes, it changes things, but name me a sport that hasn't evolved or changed or altered in some way over the years. And you could argue it makes it tougher because if you run once a month, I think horses would be more willing to run in all three races. You run the Derby in early May, you run the Preakness in early June, and then you run the Belmont Stakes, say, 4th of July weekend. The spacing is right. Now you probably get tougher fields, better horses. And so to me, in that regard, it does not cheapen the Triple Crown. It still makes it a very difficult series of races to win. Just you're making some adjustments to modern times and the way people do things these days. So that's kind of a long answer to your question.
Well, no,
what's going on?
Well, I think it's very relevant because let's be honest. 7 horses died from the Thursday before the Kentucky Derby to the end of the Kentucky Derby. I don't think I've ever seen that before, and I don't know if they figured out why that happened. Have they?
They still have not. They have not gotten back all the lab reports, I guess. And by the way, there is a scratch in the Preakness now. First submission, it was actually the second choice.
Yeah,
is not going to go.
Oh, you're
so it's just a
kidding.
field of 7 now. Yeah, he's out, and it's nothing major, but there was apparently a little ailment that was bothering him, and they were just being on the safe side, and so they're not going to run him, and good for them. He'd only raced 3 times, but his last race was a win in the Lexington. He was the second choice in the wagering, so he's a top contender. Now you're without him, so you've got Mage, and it's a decent. There's good horses in here. It's a decent race, but the Preakness isn't supposed to be a decent race. It's supposed to be
a great race,
a hallmark race, a great race, and it's just having a hard time getting the right horses these days.
I wasn't sure. First Mission, by the way, didn't have enough accumulated points to run in the Derby, yet did have enough to run in this race. Why would that be?
Well, those are 2 totally different issues. Plus, you don't really usually need the points of the Preakness, because in the Derby, the points are because you got more than 20 that want to run, and you got to limit it. You usually don't have to limit the Preakness. And I think, I could be wrong about this, but as I recall, I think by winning the Lexington, First Mission did have enough points to get in, but they just decided not to. They felt it was asking a little bit too much for a horse who'd only run 3 times, and the Lexington was just, 3 weeks before the Derby.
So the very race course they're going to be on in Baltimore, Pimlico, opened in 1870. I love this stuff. The first Preakness was in 1873. There have only been 37 horses that won in all this time the first 2 legs, the Derby and the Preakness. With this horse, First Mission, out now, I mean, Mays is the overwhelming favorite now. He was 8-5 on the early line. It's got to get even better with First Mission out. I mean, he's going to win the first 2 legs, isn't he?
It certainly looks that way. I mean, he, to me, is obviously the best horse in the race. Now, the one question you always have is does the 2-week turnaround get him?
Right.
Sometimes, a horse just doesn't bounce back that quick. But from what we've seen of him, he certainly has the ability. He was the best horse in the Derby. I think National Treasure is now the horse that is the next best contender behind him. He came out of the Santa Anita Derby and is a Bob Baffert horse. And there's a lack of speed in this race, and National Treasure could be the one to get out in front and have an uncontested lead. But I just think, all told, I think Mage is the best horse, the fastest horse. And if he runs his race, I think he's the winner.
National Treasure coming out of the 1-hole, does that make any difference?
Not really, especially in a race of this length and with this few horses. It's not like you get pinned down under an avalanche of horses like it happened in a 20-horse Derby field. So that's not really an issue. I think it would be that might encourage him even more so to get to the lead and make sure he doesn't get in trouble. If you're looking for early lead, Coffee with Chris is a horse who likes to run up front, but I don't think he can go fast enough to lead this field, or if he does, it'll be too fast and he won't last. But he is a local horse. He's run strictly in Maryland, well, almost entirely in Maryland. But he's a big price. I think Mage is the winner, and I think it could be virtually anybody running second if you're somebody trying to pick exactas, which a lot of times when there's a short price favorite, that's what people do. They sort of can see he's going to win, and now let's see who's going to be second.
I'm intrigued with Blazing Sevens, and I do this as just a casual fan. Like some horses, some race fans will go and they'll go, I like the way that horse looks, or I like the colors, or I like the number. So here's Blazing Sevens, 6-1, who is coming out of the 7-hole. Blazing Sevens out of the 7-hole, the third leading favorite. That horse has to be in any trifecta. Come on.
Well, I kind of like him too, but not for your reasons, although those are very sound as well. I mean, any method works from time to time. What I like about him is I'm really big on horses who have proven they can compete in the top-notch races. Well, he hasn't won a lot, and he does have one bad-looking one there in the Fountain of Youth when he got beat by a zillion. But mainly in top-flight competition, he's been very competitive. He won the Champagne as a 2-year-old. He was third of the Bluegrass Stakes his last race. And Chad Brown, his trainer, has won 2 Preaknesses by skipping the Derby and coming in with a Preakness horse and winning the race. So there's and I read Ortiz, his jockey, who's a champion jockey as well. So you kind of got a good combination.
I'm going Blazing Sevens. I'm going to say Mays is so overwhelmingly the favorite. He's going to be tired. That's what I'm going to bet. I like it. I think we need a month apart. Make it last longer. Get bigger fields. If Mays wins this, which everybody's expecting, 3 weeks from now for the Belmont, we'll have you on right before that. What kind of field will that be for the long race?
It'll be different, and it rarely has big fields. But you'll get competitive horses come in there and challenge him because it's, like I said, the spacing of the races. It might be a couple of horses who ran in the Derby. Right. It might be others who are coming along. I wouldn't necessarily. We'll see how the Preakness goes. I wouldn't think there'd be more than 1 or 2 to come out of the Preakness to challenge him if he does win again. But it'll be interesting to see. It's still an interesting series of races. The Belmont Stakes is still a fun race to figure out because of the 1.5 mile distance. But
I love it. I love it for that reason. It's the only time you ever see a 1.5 mile race now.
They have them, but not that often, and certainly not the high-profile races. You're right.
Paul, thank you much. Enjoy the race, and we'll talk to you in 3 weeks, right before the Belmont.
See you, Dave.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's our guy on the Triple Crown. That is Paul Rogers, the voice of Louisville. He's brought to you by the Spirit Shop. Weekend's here. At least for me it is. I know you're looking for Grind City, maybe, or you might be looking for some rare bourbon, maybe a new wine on the market. Maybe you're looking to learn about wines a little bit more. Go see Eddie Connor at the Spirit Shop, Poplar in St. Nick, 4848 Poplar to be exact. Little log cabin that's right down from Clark Tower. You've passed it by a million times. Perfect location. Great service. I'm not kidding. And good prices. As good as anybody in town. The Spirit Shop is the way to go because you'll get supplied. You get supplied quick, but you'll learn about all the products. If you really want an education, Eddie and all the folks in there love to talk about spirits. So go find out the newest tequila. Just ask Eddie and get a good price. That's the Spirit Shop. That'll do it for us. Have a great weekend, everybody. J-Mo and Johnny, right? Johnny Radio
he'll
comes
be here.
your way. Don't forget after that, you still got Brian Dacus, who will be with us next Friday. He and Stats come your way. That's at 3 o'clock. See you Monday.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus of Memphis.